You see, it is this brief moment, and it's there on the cross when we don't know that God is with us, that we have his love and care of a perfect God. You see, for a moment on the cross he says, "Why have you forsaken me?" Now, of course, perfect heavenly Dad that loves you does not forsake you. But for a moment he experiences what it's like. And that experience of devastation compared to knowing God, which is what he's had, is extreme in the extreme. And sears his spirit forever to value God above everything. Because he sees for a moment what it's like not to have it, in contrast to the experience he's had of knowing God as Dad before the world was, and even in the short ministry in this world. My God, why have you forsaken me? That is what this experience in the universe of the transitory gives us. Life eternal. If you like, the sincere, the very epitome of security in eternal life. I was going to say forever, but that's verbose now, isn't it? Security in eternal life. We are here for this extraordinary blessing, and you may say, but this is a terrible experience. Yeah, but these people out there in the world have this terrible experience for what seems to them a long time. But they don't realize the gravity of it until they compare it with what it's like to know God. So you come here into this world as if you don't know God. There's no God, there's mum and dad, but they don't always do the right thing from your point of view. They're not perfect. They're not loving, and they're not giving me the ice cream I want today. I don't see why not. I'm a child. And then I contrast that with knowing God as perfect Dad, perfectly loving. And I realize the difference. Life's fantastic. There's no way I'm going back to not wanting to know God, not knowing God. That would be terrible by comparison, and that's what the cross tells you. The terrible thing about being crucified was that it kills life. And of course, Jesus did have life. He's demonstrating to us that when you feel God has left you, that would be terrible. There's something of that there, isn't there? I don't mean I've crystallized, got it, but there's something of the essence of it that's going on here in the crucifixion. crucifixion. You can dismiss it that Jesus is just reciting an ancient, is it, psalm? When David feels that, everything's falling apart around his ears. Where are you, God? Why have you deserted me now when I need you? It's a person that knows God and feels he's lost God for a moment, lost his presence and protection. And it's terrible. But you see, he still knows God. He says, God, why have you left me? In other words, I can talk to you, I can ask. You're my dad. And I'm allowed to ask for you to give good account. What's the good account? That it's all for a good reason. That you be anchored in eternity with eternal life. And that is what we were. It's what the world constantly says. It says exactly this. It's Jesus on the cross. Whilst the world doesn't know God, it's that despair of the cross, which is picturing suffering in the crucifixion event. The world constantly says, why this horrendous evil? Where is God? And then the typical secular statement, there can't be a God if there's this evil, this unjustified problem and difficulty. It's that the world is going through continuously, in not knowing God, that desperation. And it's a desperation that what does what? It drives them to seek God. It drives them to come up with, explanation like Marshall that has, well, nothing is of value if he doesn't exist. I'm going to pretend. I'm going to assume. I'm going to trust that God does exist because I can't live with, and I've experienced in being crucified, being in this world not knowing God. And it's a nightmare that I never wish to return to. So I choose to believe. Why? I tell you, out of absolute 100% self-interest. I want God to exist with all my heart and soul. My soul longs for you. You've come to love God with all your heart and soul, probably mind and strength. Got it. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. So we have the mystery of the cross, the crucifixion in the story of a Son of God. How could this possibly happen to him? And the answer is, it couldn't. It's a story. And it couldn't rationally if you think about it, because it is a self-contradiction. He knows God. Why would God then have him crucified? Well, he wouldn't. He only did it in the story to demonstrate to others the truth of the matter. That being in this world and not knowing God is being crucified and it's absolutely terrible compared with what you've gathered from the rest of the story, which is the absolute wonder and loveliness and perfectness and life eternal of knowing God as Dad. And there he is on the cross saying, but Dad, which means you're all powerful and all loving, why have you forsaken me? But the very statement of you're all loving and Dad, and you know, the things like I'll never leave you nor forsake you is what you value. And you have that of Jesus being given to you in statements in the story. Is he denying that God is like that? No, he's saying you're Dad. So he kills the whole event of the cross with this statement, Dad, why have you deserted me? Well, that's a contradiction. Dad doesn't. You know you're looking at a story. But it's a most instructive story. And of course, if you're still in delusion, your heart goes out to this wonderful chap who's suffering. And it presents you in the secular world of not knowing God with this, what is this story about? I identify with his suffering and my sympathy. I mean, if you've got any heart at all, you're moved by the story. Why is my hero suffering? And you want to rescue him with all your heart. You see, you have love for the messenger, which means you're going to believe his message. The story gives you the love and devotion, which gives you the ears to hear, to be ready to puzzle over what is his prayer for us about. That our salvation is in knowing God as Dad. Do you see the crucifixion is an integral part of the blessing that's in this prayer? What do you think? What you're thinking is everything to life eternal. Furnish your thinking with the foundational blessing of knowing in your heart that you want God to be your heavenly Dad. Seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. And this is it. His prayer, of course, for you, to the Father in John 17. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. If you don't know the tune, I'll give it to you. It is daylight now. It's 29 minutes past 8 in the morning, Saturday morning, and it's not quite sunny, but it's morning, it's nice. Abide with me from morn till eve, for without thee I cannot live. Abide with me when night is night, for without thee I dare not die. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.